to the podcast. I'm Eric, and I'm just like a regular guy. Nothing really special about anything that I'm going to say, but the stuff that I want to talk about is important to me because I think it's something that people don't talk about as much as they should. Hard things that are inside of us that we're trying to, that maybe all of us are feeling at some point or another are the things that we want to talk about here, but also not just hard things, but how we can make the hard things easier. If that's something that suits you or suits somebody around you, have them listen yourself. Because I think, somebody that comes here, one of the guests that comes here, maybe something that I say might resonate with you, something that you can say, you know what, I can hold on to that. I can work with that. Maybe I can wake up tomorrow feeling a little bit of hope, a little bit of light and happiness. So that's what we're here for. So we hope you enjoy. I'm going to give you a little bit of who I am. It's not pretty, okay? But I think it's important that everyone knows who I am, because I think that hearing other people's stories, even the awful things, makes it, empowers people to be vulnerable themselves, right? So a little bit about me. I grew up in a little tiny town in Eastern Oregon. I had 20 people in my graduating class in high school. So we're talking tiny. In that town, there was really nothing to do, ever. So you sort of, grew up in the 80s, you just rode your bikes and you went out to the parks or whatever, jumped in the canals. It was a good childhood. It was fun to grow up in that time. In high school, I was like a National Honor Society person. I was a 4-sport letterman in athletics. I was relatively successful as a high school student, right? And I went to college. College just wasn't quite for me at that moment, so I joined the military. Also successful in the military, gained some rank and achieved some medals and some accolades that maybe not everybody gets. And then I got out of that and I got some other jobs and did some other things, and now here I am. I manage a large real estate brokerage, which on its surface, if you look at my life, I haven't been unsuccessful in my life. But the background, the things that were happening in the background that maybe people weren't seeing or that I was hiding from the world is what really defines these times in my life. Like, I think what we're going through in our mind can be different than what we're showing people. And there were many times in my life where I was going through things that were destroying me inside. But for whatever reason, I was able to manage not letting people know about it, which I think is difficult. So I'm going to go backwards again. When I was young, I was scared all the time. Like, always just scared of everything. Leaving my house sometimes just petrified me. Again, I grew up in the 80s. There were things that we did, we're always outdoors and doing things like that. But if I was going to go to somebody else's house or, go someplace I was unfamiliar with, I was scared to death of it. I didn't like sleeping in my bedroom. Sometimes it was scary. Everything was scary. I didn't understand that about myself. I always felt like, what's wrong? Why am I always so scared? I don't want to be scared of things, but I couldn't figure out how to make that happen. And I kind of just lived my life like that until I was 15 years old, and I discovered the first time in my life that I felt normal, that I felt not scared, was the first time I drank alcohol. And I had to chase that. I just started chasing that one. It was just a couple hours of my life right there at 15 years old where I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm not scared of the people around me. I'm not feeling like I'm nervous or being watched, or I'm not feeling any of these things that were making me feel so, just knotted up inside. And I started to chase that feeling. And the only way I knew how to get that feeling was to drink alcohol. And I lived in a very strict home, religious home. Not that that's a bad thing, that's a great thing. I had great guidance, but it was very strict. So I wasn't able just to go out and party and have fun, but I found ways that I could do that. And, I was chasing the high so much that I would go to school drunk. Like, I would get up in the morning and drink and go to school. when nobody would know about it because I could feel normal at school because school scared me. The people there scared me. And so it was, kind of already just a little bit of I was going down a pretty wrong path at this point. So fast forward, I get out of high school, I go into the military, and I find that the military is a stressful place to be, right? Because we all have stressful lives. And I picked a really stressful job to do. And so how did I cope? I drank a lot. Back then, the culture in the military was drinking. I mean, that was a big, huge party culture in the military. Things have really changed now, thankfully. You don't have that. It's, there's a lot different culture in the military now. But it was, back then, I mean, it was pretty acceptable to drink on the weekends and drink it, go to the bars and after work. And to me, it helped me feel not scared because I was scared of my surroundings. I was scared of the people. I didn't fit. I never felt like I fit very well. And alcohol soothed that, at least for a period of time. I also got married and had a kid during this time. Me being how I was at that point, I had, first of all, way too young. Second of all, way too drunk to manage a relationship then. Quickly fell apart. My son, we're very close. He's 29 years old. I love him to death. But he can remember, times throughout his life where I was definitely not the example that he should have had as a dad because of my inability to manage what I was going through because I needed to drink in order to feel normal. Or at least that's what I thought. So I go through the military. I was a medic. It's called the hospital corpsman in the Navy. So I learned how to be, how to treat people that are hurt. And I took that and I went out and became a trauma medic at a inner city hospital in Fresno, California. It's a level 1 hospital there, and it was a county hospital. So everybody that was hurt, that couldn't be treated at other places would come there. So it was just, we call it the Knife and Gun Club. It was really just awful. There are things there that even now to this day, like images that are just seared into my brain that I can never unsee, just heartbreaking things. And you have to sort of like wall yourself off from things, from people when you're going through hard times. And anybody that's going through hard times, whatever it is, or very stressful times, you have to try to compartmentalize. There are many ways to do that. I chose a really unhealthy way to do that. And I just drank excessively during this time to manage the stress of my life, to manage the fear that I felt, the inability to connect with people around me. I drank all the time to the point where I was, my body was sick. Not just sick because I was sick from drinking too much, but sick systemically because I was drinking constantly. And it also affected, how I did my job. I think that, it was dangerous even to a point. But I also at this point was sort of losing when I'm compartmentalizing using alcohol the unhealthy way, or whether it's drugs or alcohol, whatever that is, I was losing my ability to connect with people overall. I was losing my compassion for people. I was seeing really, really awful things every single day in this job, seeing people do awful things to each other, find themselves in some of the most painful situations of their lives. And it's hard to, as a human being, be a part of that and not have it affect you. And so I chose to compartmentalize by being drunk most of my life. There was a time where a guy came in, and I can't remember how old he was. He was probably in his late 20s, and he had been in a gang fight, and he had been stabbed in his chest. And I was angry. I was mad at him. I was mad at him for doing something so dumb and coming in here and making this like another huge stressful day. This person who's hurt and on the table, he kept saying my chest is hurting. And I was mad at him. I said, you shouldn't have been doing what you were doing. Instead of helping him and being feeling compassion toward him, I was mad at him. And this guy died on the operating room table about 30 minutes later. And I said to myself then that I can't lose that connection that I have with humans, because I love everybody. I think everyone has value that even if they don't feel that value, even if they aren't doing things in their lives that demonstrate that value, everybody has value. All of you, everybody has value. And I was losing that part of myself. with the job that I was doing, with the way that I was drinking and keeping myself numb from things, I was losing that ability to connect with humans. And I didn't like it, how it was going. So I left that profession. I went back in the service. I did another 2 years as a military recruiter. But I never stopped the drinking. The fear never stopped. That mental block of being able to connect with humanity still was there, even though I sort of excised this awful part of my life that was causing me to, even more pain. I still had the issue. I still had the inability to connect with people that I was scared of. But by this time, I'm addicted to alcohol. I'm an alcoholic. Next month on the 29th of April is my 20th year of not drinking, and it feels like it just happened, yesterday, because as an addict, as an alcoholic, as somebody that fights those things, it's a daily thing. And I think people don't realize, and all of you that maybe connect with that in some fashion, we know that we fight these battles every single day of our lives. It doesn't go away, whether it's 20 years or 20 minutes. It's still the same battle every single day. And I was still addicted at that point. I was not just drinking, I think, to cope, but I was drinking now because I was addicted to it. I couldn't not drink. I spent 2 to 3 more years in that space until I woke up one morning. I was living by myself, nobody around, really no friends or connections, nothing. I had basically burned all the things in my life that made any sense. And I woke up and I thought I was dying. I was so sick from being drunk for weeks on end. I really thought that was the end. And I'm in my mid-20s, you guys, late 20s. And I think to myself, this is it. I'm done. Like I don't feel like my body's going to survive what it's going through right this minute. I said to myself, if I do survive, I'm done. I'm done. And you know something? This was probably the 1,000th time that I had quit drinking, right? Because everybody quits over and over and over again, and then they continue to do it, right? We all quit 1,000 times the things in our lives that we feel are detrimental to us. We quit and quit and quit and quit until we finally quit. And it was that moment that I said, I'm either going to die or I'm gonna have to make some changes. Does that mean that the mental health issue went away? It didn't. It didn't go away at all. In fact, I realize at that point now that I'm not only dealing with an anxiety level that's through the roof. I didn't realize at this point still that it was anxiety, but I knew that I was dealing with something. And now I had to deal with that and being an alcoholic. Okay, so I just compounded all these things in my life, because now I had to deal with the tough part already that's in my mind, and also now dealing with being addicted to alcohol. So I had to fight 2 battles every day, which really smart of me, right? Create something worse because I was already feeling kind of bad, feeling bad throughout my life from the anxiety levels. So anyways, I decided that's it. That doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to stop drinking because I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die, and I felt like that's what I was going to do. I still to this day maintain that if I had kept on that same track, I wouldn't be here today. Because I have other health issues. I didn't realize I had uncontrolled crisis high blood pressure. And the smoking and the drinking was just causing that to just skyrocket. So that would have killed me. I have already in my late 40s, I have kidney issues because of high blood pressure that was uncontrolled for so many years. And so I'm convinced that death would have been pretty, I wouldn't be sitting here at least if I had kept going on that path. And I didn't want that. So I packed up my stuff. I was in Northern California. I packed up my stuff and I moved 2 states away here to Utah to try to find a life that would change where I was. And I think it was a good thing. You have to sort of take some drastic action sometimes in order to change the situation that you're in. Not everyone has the ability to move 2 states away, but some drastic action, to sort of extricate yourself from circumstances that are causing you pain. That has to happen at some point in order for us to build something different in our lives. The thing about moving here was that I had to find something to hold on to, because I didn't have alcohol anymore. I didn't have the group around me that initially would sort of prompt me to be out at bars and doing those things. So I had to find something else. So I chose two ways. I went with the physical fitness way, right? But I was a pretty heavy smoker before then. So it was hard. It was painful to be physically fit because I had to fight through these like awful, just coughing fits and burning and just no oxygen. And of course I went from California to Utah, so I'm 4,000 feet higher in the air than I was in California. That wasn't helpful either. I should have moved like to Hawaii maybe or something like that, but I chose Utah and it's here, and that was hard, physical fitness, but I had people around me, my dad, my brothers, they all were cyclists, and so I just decided to do that with them, and they'd all just bury me, and I'd be way back there because I just was so out of shape and just really sick and unhealthy. But it started to help me feel as I got better and better and healthier and healthier. It was something I could grab onto. It was a resource for me, something that I could be a part of. The other thing that I chose was a spiritual aspect of my life. I'm a Christian guy. Doesn't mean that that's where everyone finds that inspiration, because it could be anywhere. You could, go on a hike and find inspiration. I found it in a church, and I grabbed onto that pretty strong. At some point, you sort of have to come to a crossroads, and I got married, and I had 3 kids at the time with 4, including my son from my first marriage, and I had 3 kids with my next wife at this point, and I am still fighting so much, even with these 2 things. I still, to this point, had no idea, like, what was wrong with me? Why can't I just be happy? Why can't I feel normal? Why can't I feel comfortable? And my marriage was failing because of this. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to get along. I was angry all the time. So I go to the doctor. I got to figure this out. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why I'm this way. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I know that I don't drink anymore, and that sucks because that's the only thing that helped me. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor says, let's talk about what you've gone through in your life. And so I started laying out some of the things that I just told you to her, and she said, you have been suffering from a mental health. I just call it a broken brain, right? I think I have a bit of a broken brain. I think we all do in some way. That's okay. But mine, she showed me throughout my life some of the things, that normal kids don't sleep with a baseball bat next to their bed because they're worried there's going to be a fire and they got to get their brothers out from the room that they're in. Normal kids don't get up in the middle of school and walk around and bug the other kids, because they're too anxious to sit in one place. Normal kids don't feel scared. And when I say normal, I mean just that's not how our brains are supposed to function. We are dealing with things when we're constantly scared or constantly nervous or constantly, not wanting to socialize because of the people and how you feel they might perceive you. Any of those things, like these are things that we feel. They don't have to be there, right? It's not how our brains normally would function. But it doesn't mean we're abnormal. It just means that we have, she said it, she told me, it means that we have to help that, right? To kind of fix the gap between where I want to be, that level of comfort, to where I am now. We've got to find a way to bridge that gap. So here we are. They put me on some medication. I'm like on the highest dose you can possibly get without being totally crazy. Okay. I live a pretty good life now, still having these issues and trying to work on it. And now I'm married again, and my wife now, who knows how long she's going to tolerate me. Who knows? The fact of the matter is, I feel like I have some tools now. My wife knows who I am. She knows that every single day I feel like drinking alcohol. She knows that every single day I feel anxious for one reason or another. My kids, I'm very open with them. They know. I can tell my kids I felt like drinking today, but I didn't. Because I think that honesty, for people like us, for people that suffer, and I think there's so many of us out there, more than we even realize, that honesty and that ability to say like the hard things. Today I felt like I failed. Today I felt like I wanted to drink. I wanted to give in to all the things that my mind fights every day. Having that honesty and having the network of people that you can be honest with has saved who I am. It's rescued my broken brain. Still there, still broken. What I want everyone to know, and why I want to talk to different people and talk to you, even though we have these flawed, broken pieces of us, we're still valuable. You're still valuable. Everyone out there, doesn't matter where you are, what darkness you might feel, what challenges you have, how scared you might feel, you have value. And I promise you there are people around you, even if you don't know it, who see you for who you are and see the value in you. The point is, though, is we have to see that in ourselves. And for the longest time, I didn't see that in myself. I thought I was just worthless. And I still struggle with that sometimes, even with a good support network. But I want you to know that you're not. I want, and when I'm feeling that way, I've found ways that I can pull myself out, and I want to share those things with you, but also I want you to know that it's okay just to even talk about it, because it's empowering to say it, right? Even though it makes me emotional, it makes me feel things that I sometimes don't want to feel. It almost feels like weakness. It empowers me to do something different and to pull myself up and to lean on people that I know can help me. And that's what I want you guys to know, that you don't have to feel dark all the time. You don't have to feel worthless, because we all have value. You have value. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you have value. The whole idea, right, is to have people, variety of people that are going through, that have gone through things and maybe are going through things right now that maybe somebody out there can connect with, can pull something from, that will show them a way that they can find that value in themselves, right? So the people that we're going to have here are going to be from all different walks of life, from single moms to CEOs, but everybody that we have here will have a story to tell. And that story may connect with somebody different each and every time. But the idea behind what we're doing here is to provide as many perspectives, as many healing resources, however it is, to everybody out there, so that there's somebody can pull something from somewhere and say, I can feel a little bit of hope, because I feel like I can do that. Even that one little thing from the place that I'm in, I think I could do that. That's what we're here for. And that's what the guests that will come on hopefully will resonate with some of you out there, and that you can pull some of the tools and resources out to help you feel the value that you have, because you are valuable. And there's hope for an amazing life, whether it's today or tomorrow or 10 years from now. These resources, and hopefully what we're going to talk about, will help you build what you want, have the life that you want. Thanks you guys for listening. We'll see you next time at podcast.